is the ultimate travel guide from the people who know it best. Weekends with Yankee.
I'm standing on Irving Street near Harvard University in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Some of the greatest minds in the 20th century have lived right on the street, so much so that it's actually called Professor's Row. E. Cummings grew up on this street. William James lived across the street from him, but the person who's nearest and dearest to my heart lived right here at 103 Irving, and that's Julia Child.
Welcome to the French Chef. I'm Julia Child.
When I look at her house, I think about all the meals that were eaten here and all the books that were written, and it just makes me so proud to live nearby. In a very male-dominated industry, Boston was really ahead of the curve in elevating its women chefs to national celebrity status. And I think Julia had a huge hand in that. So to learn more about it, I'm going to meet up with one of Julia's friends and proteges, Lydia Shire, who's a chef at Scampo here in Boston.
She gave you the sense of, you know what, I'm going to ask you to do something, but we're in this together, and it may seem hard or it may seem complicated, but it really isn't, and I'll break it down for you and I will show you. And not only that, when I make a mistake, I'll tell you, you just, cover it with whipped cream and serve it.
For wine, for this magnificent dish, one of your very, very best Burgundy wines, I would think that probably a Grand Échezeaux would be absolutely delicious.
And here we are, Julia's favorite store.
I love coming in here because, this is a true chef's inspiration.
Right. This place is so special.
You're not
I remember
kidding.
coming here when I was first really getting interested in food, and this just felt like the place to be, to discover everything.
The history and the fact that it's lasted all these years.
Yeah.
1939.
Amazing. And
Oh
stuff
my
here you
gosh.
just can't find anywhere else. That's fine. Oh, there's Ron. Hey, Ron.
Hi.
So we are retracing Julia Child's footsteps around Boston, and we thought what better place to come than her favorite butcher shop. Her love of your dad and his work and her influence on Boston, like you guys influenced each other and changed the food scene here.
I think as Chef can attest, it's, we share a common passion, and I think that's what ignites those kind of relationships and, what we do. It's
And
all
your
about
dad
passion.
appeared on her show, right?
Yeah,
Is that
there's
true?
pictures up there on
Wow.
her show. He was on a show, I don't know exactly how many times, but I know it was,
Yeah.
more than a few.
Did you used to wait on her? Do you remember her as a customer?
Well, in the early days, I used to, my dad would say, go help them carry their bags home, and Julie and Paul, they had this big sack, and Julie would hold one side and Paul would hold the other, and then walk down, and then other times I would just, take a regular grocery bag and walk them home.
And did you feel like you were walking with a giant of American cuisine? Or?
No, I was too young and stupid. Well, obviously, whether you realize it or not, but you may have walked right over where she actually signed the sidewalk.
Oh, let's go see that.
Absolutely.
All right. Oh, look what we have here.
Look at that.
Originally, this was actually over there, and when the town was going to redo the sidewalk, I complained. I said, you can't do that. That's like
Right, a landmark.
a landmark. They dug up the piece that was over there, and then they moved it to here for us to keep it
That is
going.
great.
And the original piece I actually have, which the Smithsonian has put a request in for the museum.
Wow. So she just took a stick.
Well, it was with
and-
a stick. I'll never forget it because I was right there. So she came down and, she bent down, and I remember helping her get up from it. And
Do you know when that was? What year that was?
a long time ago.
Well, let's do some shopping.
All right.
Okay.
This is the real Long Island duck, which is the Pekin variety.
right.
It's a white duck, and it's called not Peking, but
Right.
Pekin. She always ordered duck from me. I mean, literally every single time.
Right.
I don't think I remember her ever ordering a steak. By the way, a little thing I bet you don't know. She did not like arugula.
Really?
No, because arugula was Italian. I mean, it was that green, and she did not like it. She loved watercress.
This elaborate, expensive, silver-plated instrument is a duck press.
I think what made Julia Child so popular among everybody is that she was so incredibly real. She wasn't trying to perform. She was incredibly sincere, incredibly genuine, really passionate about cooking and baking and eating, and not afraid to show both the good and the bad of all of that.
Well, Lydia, as much as it's a joy to be following in Julie's footsteps, it is really an honor to be cooking with you at Scampo here today.
Thank you. As you can see, this is the beautiful Savenor's Long Island duck. These I'm going to marinate for 1 hour.
Okay, great.
There's lots of ginger in here, scallions, a little red jalapeno, soy sauce, and sesame oil. So this you can do the day before.
Right.
Because you're not finishing it. And once you get it in here, you don't want to move it. All right, so now I'm flipping it. And I can tell, touch that. Do you feel it's kind of firm?
Yes, yeah.
It's almost like if you were cooking a steak.
Yes,
You can
absolutely.
almost tell that it needs very little time. I'm just gonna let it go maybe about 30 seconds. So
that's gorgeous.
I would say that would be a very pretty dish that would make Julia very, very happy.
Orange and duck go awfully well together because the dark, rich duck meat and the fresh taste of fresh oranges is just an awfully nice combination.
I mean, Julia lived in Cambridge. She's still here in Boston. We still feel her. Watching Lydia, be friends with her, and watching Jody grow up with her, and having her hand literally on the shoulders of the women that have had their hand on my shoulders. Her legacy has just worked its way through generations and is still very much alive.
All right, Amy.
Oh,
Here
look
is
at
your
that.
beautiful duck in honor of Julia.
So beautiful. This is
Yeah.
a feast. I love it. And I love how we're sort of celebrating your memories of her. What was it like to go to her house?
She was this person who just wanted to put people together. She just had no ego herself. She would sit in a corner in her kitchen and, people would be circulating all around and have little beautiful moments of sitting down and talking, and that's what she wanted. She was so unselfish.
This is phenomenal. This is just
Well,
so good.
thank you.
I can see why she loved it, why she always wanted you to make it.
We were so lucky to get to see her and Paul. I remember having lunch in her home. She always wanted to meet some young, up-and-coming woman chef because she wanted that person to tell her stories and listen to mine. Basically, she was setting up the next experience for someone. How unselfish of her. It was never about her.
Right.
It was about what could she do for someone else.
And I remember when I first moved to Boston, I did notice how many women chefs were in charge as opposed to being behind the famous guy.
Yeah, it was. I mean, myself, I'm the oldest of everybody. It's been very special.
Yeah, well, your food brings so much joy. It's about pleasure and happiness. And I think that was her relationship to food too.
Right.
I mean, there's serious technique, there's a lot of knowledge on this plate, but at the end of the day, it just makes me happy.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's what's most important.
Well, I want to salute you and your wonderful food and all the women chefs of Boston and Julia and her legacy, which lives on in all of you and which we still get to enjoy.
Oh, thank you, Amy, and what a pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you.
Really.
Cheers.
And that's all for today on The French Chef. This is Julia Child. Bon appetit.